The Tier 10 French battle cruiser Marseille, the Tier 10 German battleship Mecklenburg, and then the super ship Edgar. Edgar. These 4 ships are not available. They are in early access for super testing, so that's why I have access to them. The first ship that we're going to take a look at is Edgar. Edgar is basically a super Minotaur or Minotaur. This has the same basic concept: AP, torpedoes, repair, smoke, radar, but you can choose the faster main battery reload, the burst fire mechanism. And obviously that's going to make it very scary against the right type of target, but it's just a super Minotaur. So yeah, I think it's going to work just fine. Obviously it's a light cruiser with no armor. It'd be, glass cannon for sure, but that's the nature of these things. So glass cannon, super Minotaur. I think of all the ships that they could add, a super variant of the Minotaur is appreciated because it does continue that design, and it is a fun design. So I can't see that anyone's going to complain about this on the play ability. It's more to the question of super ships, do they belong in the game? I don't know. One of the other ships that is very exciting, I love German battleships. This is a Tier 10 German battleship. This is Mecklenburg. Now, Mecklenburg is using 16 305mm guns on 4 gun turrets instead of the traditional 380, 420, 457, 406 that you're used to, or any of those variants. So the 12 gun, or the 16 gun 305 is a ginormous broadside. If you're given an opportunity to, say, load AP, aim at the broadside of a battleship, you're going to get a really big broadside. Now, you're not going to get a bunch of citadels at range, and you're not going to have that consistent gun penetration as the Preußen has, but what you're going to get is really healthy broadsides on great big battleships. The HE, you'll have 16 rounds of that, plenty of high explosive to really devastate enemy DDs. It's a very interesting ammo type. Also, it's using 128mm secondaries, so the secondaries can absolutely be built just as you would with the GK or the Preußen. You can basically use the same commander and it will work just as well. This does come equipped with torpedoes, which are midship, so you can imagine that the arc of the torpedo is, here. If you fire on this target, most likely midship, you probably destroy their torpedoes. They are 6-kilometer range torpedoes, so they're not really used for anything other than point blank. A defense is, it's reasonable. Nothing to scream or write home about. And maneuverability, everything's fine there. This basically is using the Kurfürst hull with the... Well, actually, no, it's not a Kurfürst hull. It's its own hull, actually. It looks like it is. It looks like it's lower in the water compared to the Grosser Kurfürst. It doesn't have as obscene of a high armor on the nose or the stern, but what it does have is it still has the thick armor belt. So if you're a Yamato, for example, or a Musashi, you need to locate your shells near the top of the hull, so it will dive in, and that's how you can bust through. But it still has, German turtleback. The citadel is still below the water line, so it's not going to be easy to citadel. But it does look like it has a little bit more vulnerable low armor zones that you can take advantage of, specifically 32, if that is what you'd like to do. But yeah, she's pretty tanky. Pretty tanky. Concealment, 17-1 base. It's just not concealed. It comes with either spotting or fighter. It actually comes with defensive AA, so its AA defense is actually on the high side for German battleships. This would probably be one of the best AA defended German battleships in the game thus far with defensive AA. You could use it, you could equip defensive AA extended duration, not really my recommendation. I would just go for your traditional steering for active dodge, I love that. Concealment for concealment. And then for the last one, you could either go AA or you could go for secondary. You could either go secondary AA or main battery reload. Those are the two that speak to me as a player. And, you know, honestly, if I were to look at this, I would probably say to you that this ultimately is probably the best build it could possibly have. Just from a tank standpoint, from all of the different standpoint, it's got secondary gun range, equivalent to the others. It just has better AA defense. So yeah, this is an interesting one. You could easily go like all in on your anti-air secondaries, and you could go secondary gun range if you'd like. It's very low in the water, though. I'm very impressed with the height of it. The superstructure looks just absolutely ginormous compared to it, though. So it could be easy to farm high explosive from any angle. That's something that you got to consider. It's got a sort of a blacked out appearance, black or blue. So yeah, this is an interesting one. Now the Mecklenburg is going to be available for steel at some point. So interesting choice. A German AA battleship with a small gun caliber. I like the options. The next ship that we're going to take a look at, Marseille. This one is the sort of the French battle cruiser, and this one is designed similar to that of the Nelson. And the Nelson had the 3 gun turrets facing forward, whereas the Iwami had the number 3 gun turret facing the rear, so it always had to go counter whatever direction the forward 2 guns. In this arrangement, staying bow in, port or starboard, it doesn't matter. It has the same effect on all 3 guns. They all rotate together. So in that way, it's nice, but in other ways, it's not as nice because the French are well known for their quad-mounted gun turrets. If this was a two gun turret quad mount, then you could have all 8 guns facing forward, and they would never be in a position to compete with each other. As it stands now, only 6 guns can face absolutely forward, and if you want all 9 guns to be available, then you're going to have to angle for that last gun. I think that this is probably a deliberate choice by Wargaming to maybe introduce this type of playstyle up at high tier, because it does, I mean, this does look just like a Nelson in its appearance, and that is a very deliberate choice by them to put the number 3 gun turret behind the other 2 instead of going for a quad choice. But let's take a look at the armor. That's important. So this is classified as a cruiser, so it will take a cruiser slot. But it has 25mm bow and stern. Just 25. There's literally no other armor zone here. So everyone, battleship-wise, HE-wise, can easily penetrate this if it's in a bow position. It has a lot of armor along the side, admittedly, with 30mm being the predominant on the deck and the upper hull. So something like 457 can easily overmatch this. But anything smaller than 457 will not easily overmatch this part of the ship. But man, the nose is still so easy to punish. It's such a big cruiser. It really is something that it's gonna rely a lot on either not being shot at or active dodging to save its hide, I think. So let's take a look at this Citadel. The Citadel of it is, you know, right at the waterline. It's very weak from airdrop. Only has to go through 16mm, 30mm, so 46mm, and then 20mm into the Citadel. So an AP bomb drop on this would just need to go through 75mm and some change worth of armor. Very easy. And there's a lot of like area that you could attack on this type of ship with an AP bomb, and know for a fact that that they'll never, hit the top of a big gun. So very vulnerable to it, but admittedly it does have pretty good AA for how vulnerable it is. It is a cruiser. It does have cruiser skills. You can use defensive AA. It has speed boost. It has heal. The heal isn't that bad, honestly. It's pretty good. For the gun range, the base gun range is not spectacular. It doesn't come with torpedoes as an option. You can't extend the gun range at all. It's not even an option. The only way you can extend the gun range is if you were to invest in the gunfire range control, which you might actually do. I feel very similar to this as I do with Incomparable. Because you lack armor, you need distance. Because you lack concealment, you need distance. So because you lack all of that, I think you need range to really get the most out of it. But appearance-wise, yeah, it basically looks like a French Nelson. A French Nelson. Is that some like slang term for something? It's got an impressive amount of secondaries on the back half. But I don't know how viable a secondary build is on something like this because it is so weak, and it is a cruiser. Keep that in mind. It can get its secondary gun range out to, it looks like 10.5. Now, I don't know if there will be an available secondary, option. But if you notice, we have equipped all the concealment skills that are available to us, and we still have 1.5 kilometers of distance that we need to cover. This currently does not have a premium skin available to it, so we don't have any way of verifying what it would look like with a premium skin. But if we were to use a camouflage, the absolute best concealment that we could hope to get in the ship is 11.6. The absolute best secondary gun range is 10.5. So there is some potential play available for these secondaries. I don't know how actually viable they are. And they are actually 139s, interestingly. Huh. But if we were to go IFHE, it would just take away from everything else. So I would say, man, 23. It's got enough penetration to be annoying to a DD, for example, but it doesn't have enough penetration to be annoying to a cruiser. I would probably just stick with a main battery aiming. I just think that secondaries on a cruiser are really tough to use, and if you don't have a lot of outward-facing armor to absorb the shot, it's just gonna punch right through and do full damage. But the guns themselves, let's take a look. 330, 24-second reload. It takes a long time. With the build that I'm running, 22.7 kilometer range, I think that's very usable. I think that's ideal, honestly, for what it's presenting. Fast turret traverse, so it won't have to deal with the number 3 gun turret taking too long. AP shell damage is pretty high. Obviously, it's French, so its gun velocity is very high as well, which is, a nice trait. It has main battery reload as an option, and the main battery reload is the cruiser variant, so it will actually help a lot. Wow, this line might actually be pretty scary. If you catch a cruiser or a battleship broadside with this AP and you main battery reload into it, there's going to be a quick succession of 15, 15, 15. So I'd say anywhere from 20 to 40,000 damage potentially with this main battery reload, which is exciting. That's pretty cool. It's obviously got speed boost, so that's a nice trait where it can move around the map quickly. It is, it's pretty fast, but it's not very fast for a cruiser. So it's fast for what it is. It's an oversized battleship, but it's an oversized cruiser that is like a battleship. But it's nowhere near as fast as the fastest cruisers. So, your mileage may vary. This will be early access, though. I will test it. I will tell you guys what I think about it, but I can't do anything on stream other than just showing it like this. And then finally, Iwami. Iwami will be a coal tier 9, And for the Japanese, this is going to use 410. So we'll have overmatch on 27, but it won't have overmatch on 30, for example. And it's got an interesting tiger stripe pattern on the guns, kind of like that. It's kind of a Yamato prototype looking one, so this might be some type of Musashi compromise available. It's got 8 guns. The dispersion pattern's pretty good. I like that. Let's equip it with equipment so we can see how good she can actually play. Obviously, I would go damage control. Main battery accuracy. Steering gears. Concealment. And then finally, probably main battery reload. Yeah, wow. The main battery, the reload time, 22 seconds. Not bad. Not bad. I like that. I would go a typical tank build, I think. That seems about the best. So the concealment is 14.3. Not bad. Armor on this, 32 all the way on the nose, 32 all the way on the hull. Man, this is really armor min-maxed. And then it has 356 along the side. Its citadel is very different. It is above the waterline, so you do want to keep your distance. You don't want someone like a battleship perfectly broadside at you. But you do have enough armor that you can play very well. It does look low in the water, so I think they're trying to like introduce some low in the water battleships. A defense, it's okay. It's very Japanese. This doesn't have anything unique about it other than the fact that it has torpedoes. So that's something different. Where are the torpedoes located? Looks like the torpedoes are located on the back. Okay, so these torpedoes on the back would suggest that it will need to angle a little bit more. Maybe the angle of fire is going to be here. Here and here, maybe. So it's going to be a lot of butt torpedoes. You really would have to just show your butt. There's no air range. You can't extend it. So 20.3 is all you get. That's pretty tough. You might actually need to go a range build in higher competitive just because you can't extend the range of the guns. And 20 is right on the edge of not being enough. Survivability, 80,700. Torpedo protection's stout, like that. Maneuvering's okay, rudder's cool, speed reasonable, all that stuff. It's where you would expect it to be on a Japanese battleship. Yeah, decent accuracy. Yeah, okay. Interesting. So it's kind of like a Musashi. Well, it's kind of like an Amagi that gets torpedoes at tier 9. It's got definitely better armor. Well, I don't know. Amagi has good armor too. Definitely has better AA secondary gun range. Can we make it? I wouldn't play Japanese secondaries, honestly. I would send the torpedoes, which are 12 kilometers. Which if you went for a full concealment build, you might be able to use them almost 1-to-1 with your concealment, but I don't know that that's optimal. Since it is a battleship, it will be seen easily, so you have to keep that in mind. Obviously, the command tower, very tall, so trying to hide behind islands going to be tough. But, overall, Iwami looks interesting. This will be a coal ship. Mecklenburg will be a steel ship. Marseille will be available as an alternative French cruiser, and then Edgar is just a super ship that people will be able to rent at some point soon. Overall, I'm excited about the Mecklenburg, the Marseille, the Iwami. I think they're all different enough that they stand out, and I don't see much overlap with existing designs, especially at this tier. So yeah, intrigued by the potential offering. I'd like to see it again. And let's showcase the reverse skin, which, looks pretty cool on Iwami, honestly. It's green and green, and the turrets keep their tiger stripes, so I like that. That looks cool. Obviously, Marseille doesn't have their premium. Mecklenburg has it, and it's, you know, two-tone blue or black. So, actually it looks pretty nice in blue. I like it. I like it. Cool. And then, of course, Edgar. Edgar's a whiteout. White or olive green or tan. So, yeah, that was the early access look of, early access of the public test server look of these ships. Tell me what you think in the comments about the appearance. Obviously, stats are subject to change, but, you know, overall, I think that the lower position of the Mecklenburg, the Marseille, and the Iwami is intriguing enough that I want to see more of them. So I can't wait to play through them. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you enjoyed the video, please like. You can subscribe to the channel. I do stream at twitch.tv/Notser. Thank you and have a wonderful day.